Hello, my name's Varen, and welcome to a new and crazy Ascension Guide video. With the release of Ascension Chapter 2, I've been hard at work testing a bunch of different specializations. I tried Grove Ranger on the first couple days, which I found to be a fun healer, though I feel it's still in the work in progress stages, and I needed to have more testing. I am also still in the process of rebuilding the Blood for the Blood God builds. I'll have a video out on this soon. Now, during this time testing the new Worldforge REs, I was pulled to the legendary enchant Dark Apotheosis, as it got my attention instantly, having permanent metamorphosis form and the use of immolation aura, plus the demonic resilience talent, which massively increases your threat while in demon form by 300%. I believe this build is a strong choice for anyone looking for extreme sustain and control over the battlefield, while living up the role as a tank warlock. In this video, I'll be going over the Worldforge legendary RE and how it works, the tank talents I use to stay alive under all conditions and scenarios, as well as the random enchants I take to have full use of my defenses and utilities. I will also be talking about the abilities I rotate through and the item priority list you will need to become a legendary Dark Apotheosis main. Now let's get started. Dark Apotheosis is a brand new Worldforge legendary random enchant in Project Ascension that can be found by doing the Warlock Epic Dreadsteed questline, which I will mention more at the end. This tank specialization uses dual wielding, metamorphosis, fire spells, and soul link to burn your enemies to their knees, all the while sharing all the pain with your significant demon friend. This legendary enchant feels similar to a bear tank by stacking health, armor, and dodge, but with the added benefit of being a demonic warlock that builds up spell power and has a sweet demonic aesthetic as well. With this build, I've run into rarely any threat issues, even against some high-end dragon warriors I know. Now for some quick tips. Metamorphosis is a shapeshifting form, so some of the abilities and stats can and cannot be used. For starters, you only benefit from dodge, and you can cast spells that say it's possible while in shapeshifted form. Spells like Charge, Dispersion, Barkskin, Divine Protection, Evasion, and Combat Readiness are all usable and highly desirable. I also noticed that the Warrior Taunt is also usable in form, even though it does not say so. In my opinion, this is a needed addition, as without this, the specialization lacks any sort of short-range taunt. Personally, I chose this specialization as I really wanted to tank mythic raids, so I needed a solid main tank with magic mitigation. Dark Apotheosis ended up being a remarkable tank in all scenarios, and now I tank mainly all content with it. Let's now go over the talents I use in the build to survive big dungeon AoE pulls comfortably, and treat deadly raid dragon breath attacks like they are just a cool breeze. With a build so unique as this, I looked down almost every alley for the talents that would benefit our durability and resilience from as many sources as possible. I started with the buffs relevant to defense. Most unique to this is Nether Protection. The talent reduces the damage you take from any element you take damage from by 10% and reduces all periodic spell damage taken by 6%. Very useful for all kinds of spell damage in Ascension. I also take Adaptive Defense for 5% dodge chance and 5% damage reduction from all sources. This talent has almost 100% uptime, and the damage resistance against all is absolutely what we want. Next, I take Aspect Mastery and Improved Aspect of the Monkey. This gives 4% more damage reduction and 3% more dodge from Aspect of the Monkey. These two talents plus Aspect alone give a total of 9% damage reduction and 10% dodge chance. Before I go into the talents I take for the demon, two more talents I take are Arcane Fortitude from the Arcane Mage tree that gives 150% of your intellect as armor, and Spiritual Attunement, which reduces the damage you take by another 2% flat and gives you mana from any effective healing you receive. Personally, I wish the Arcane Fortitude talent Capstone for 30% more armor contribution could benefit all full cloth set wearers, though I understand it being tied to Mana Forge Barrier. Now the pet talents. Let's start with the most important one, Master Demonologist. This talent gives different bonuses to you based on the demon you have. Normally you would run Voidwalker and Fellstalker for 10% physical or magical damage reduction respectively, though I felt that this overstuffed the epic pool from tanking epics you need, like Evasion and Combat Readiness, so I think now with the Chapter 2 changes to talented abilities no longer costing talent points, the Felguard is the supreme leader in efficiency and effectiveness. He gives 5% damage reduction from all damage and 5% damage to you as well. He cleaves and hits hard and is very survivable, so I highly recommend running a Felguard in this manner. Of course, any of these three demons are viable, so please pick what you can for your build. Now, to keep the demon alive, I take Fel Synergy for personal healing between the demon and myself, and Demonic Embrace to share 6% more damage with Soul Link. My favorite talent is next, Demonic Resilience. This talent reduces the chance to get critically hit by 3% in Metamorphosis form, reduces the damage your pet takes by 15%, and most importantly, gives you 300% more threat gained while in Metamorphosis form. This talent alone makes holding aggro extremely easy with spells, and with Immolation Aura, it's really fun and satisfying. I realized I had a couple mana issues, so to address this, I take the talent Backlash paired with Soul Leech and Improve Soul Leech to gain instant cast Incinerates against multiple targets due to the random enchant Flame Surge. Each hit has a chance to give 3% of our max mana back, which combined with Spiritual Attunement will keep you topped up on mana in most scenarios. The rest of my talents are mostly to enhance fire damage and increase stamina. Here's my full list, and of course, the build is posted on the Hero's Architect, so feel free to check it out and perhaps send a heart upvote. Now let me show you what random enchants I chose to complement this legendary Woldforged enchant. First, let me run by this legendary enchant and clear up any confusion. You absolutely can equip this legendary enchant at level 1 and shapeshift into a demon without the talent Metamorphosis, meaning you can level as a demon. Metamorphosis, the ability, is still important though, and now instead gives Demon Spikes, which is quintessential to tanking at max level effectively. The damage reduction from Soul Link after using Demon Spikes equals to about 28%, and your pet also takes 50% reduced damage from that. Next, the Shadow Cleave part of the enchantment gets replaced with Demonic Rage Shadow Cleave. As of recording this, the ability Demonic Rage is bugged and costs mana, has no cooldown, and does not give a buff to damage. I'm sure this will be addressed, so I'm still recommending it. Now for epic enchants, with Dark Apotheosis being a spellcaster, I have little choice but to absolutely take defensive magics. This RE simply allows you to dodge, parry, and block still while spellcasting. It's a big saving grace to otherwise have no way of dodging while throwing out spells. Next, I take Demonic Rage as it gives us 10% physical damage reduction and lasts 30 seconds on a 30-second cooldown, so it's constantly up. This RE also gives 20% more damage on a next spellcast after a Shadow Cleave, so that's a nice added bonus for holding more threat easier, even though at the moment it is bugged. Demonic Cleave does replace Dark Apotheosis Shadow Cleave, which I still need to do more testing on. For now, I would run this epic RE as it gives a safe bonus to defense and damage after the bugs are fixed. Lastly, I take Flame Surge mostly for dungeon content, as it turns Incinerate into a 10 target spread attack that, with Backlash, you can cast instantly, and with Soul Leech, you can reduce enemies' attack power and also restore mana. For epic enchants, I take Precision and Balance of Power, as being hit capped is essential. Next, I take Feint, as it decreases the chance for enemies to critically hit by 3%. Very important for not getting randomly knocked out by multiple critical hits in a row. I follow this up with a bunch of solo enchants that enhance our protection and provide more sustain. Thick Hide, Endurance Training, Survivalist, and Aegis will give us a lot of health and armor, so I highly recommend it. And finally, I take Fearing Fire, as adding an extra 30% threat gain on all fire abilities is a necessity. This, on top of Demonic Resilience, allows us to keep constant aggro on anything, and makes all of our spells excellent threat generators. With a build such as this, I feel like a rotation isn't as necessary as for a DPS spec. Instead, I'll be going over the abilities I keep up at all times, as well as the mini priorities I use to get the most aggro in short bursts. I start each pull with Charge while Immolation Aura is running. I then use Shadow Cleave to gain 10% damage reduction and 20% increased damage on my next spell. I follow this up with Shadow Flame on all targets in front of me, and then Shadow Cleave again to prepare for my first Backlash proc. Once this happens, I use Incinerate to instantly deal 30% more damage to 10 targets. This, combined with Immolation Aura again, will keep any amount of enemies in order. When I feel confident, I cast Flame Strike and use Hellfire to deal massive AoE fire damage. When it comes to single targets, I use all of what I said, though instead of using Flame Strike and Hellfire, I instead cast Hand of Gul'dan, Flame Shock, and Conflagrate. These spells deal fire damage, so they are good to deal quick threat damage onto your targets. I also try to Shadow Cleave just before every attack, so you get the most threat out of each spell. Speaking of Shadow Cleave, I recommend making a macro that casts Shadow Cleave with Blood Rage and Demonic Spikes as well. This will keep your Blood Rage up as often as possible, and your Demonic Spikes used as you reach the required 80 energy. Now that you know how to survive with the abilities and talents, next, let's talk about the equipment and items I use to become a reliable tank. As a Dark Apotheosis tank, I highly recommend getting your hands on the Iron Weave set. This is acquired by doing Mythic Dungeons and Mythic Plus, and I recommend opening the chests under Tank instead of Intellect. This cloth set is armor heavy and gives defense rating, which is rare in this category, so it's the best outfit for any kind of mage tanks in Ascension. I also take trinkets that increase my dodge and stamina. Right now I run Force of Will and Heart of the Scale. Force of Will gives excellent defense rating and stamina, as well as a strong passive damage reduction effect. Heart of the Scale is niche to the build, as it gives stamina and fire resistance and also burns enemies for 1 minute every 2 minutes. I find the fire resistance to be useful when using Hellfire, and I macroed the burn effect to my Shadow Cleave to have maximum uptime. This, combined with Molten Armor and Immolation Aura, will net a crazy amount of passive fire damage as you rotate through all of your other abilities. To find this specialization, you have to visit a Warlock named Kurgul in the Cleft of Shadows, as shown here. You will absolutely need epic riding to see this quest, as you are essentially beginning the quest line to obtain the epic Dreadsteed mount. This legendary enchant truly surprised me with its endurance and class fantasy. I feel that Ascension really did a good job with this by turning the Demon Hunter tank idea into a demonology demon tank. If you enjoy the video and would like to see more content like this, then please leave a comment below, like the video, hit the bell icon, and subscribe. This has been Varen. Thank you for listening this far, and have a wonderful rest of your day.